Hi, Bernadette McClelland here, and welcome. Once again, thank you so much for your support for the Story Selling series. I shared with you a number of different principles that underpin the story selling philosophy. And today I want to focus in on principle number 2, which is story selling is root cause focused. Now, what do I mean by story selling is root cause focused? I guess an example to give you is back in 2009, I had an altercation with a forklift, and the forklift won. I was standing up in the warehouse that we owned. My husband and I had a business, and we had workers in the warehouse, and I had sat down on the floor, and I pulled myself up by the big black shiny handle, and I pulled myself up, and as I did, it put the forklift into reverse. And it clipped my shin, did massive tissue damage, catapulted me into hospital. And as good hospital medics do, they triaged you. And so once I was triaged, they bandaged me up, given me some amoxicillin, some typical antibiotics, and sent me home. Unbeknownst to us, whilst I was diagnosed with simple tissue damage, this was eventually turning septic. And I was put into hospital for 3 days and 3 nights. And it was in hospital for those 3 days and 3 nights that I felt things weren't right. And so I spoke to the medical staff, and of course, this is not finger pointing in any way, shape or form, but medical staff know more than patients, and they told me that I would be okay. What actually happened was this diagnosis and this prescription was now poisoning my system further, resulting in me having drug-induced cholestasis. And what that meant was my liver shut down. So for the entire year of 2009, I was bedridden. What that did for the wider circle was it meant that I was no longer able to run the business. We ended up having to declare bankruptcy. My husband and I lost everything. We lost our homes, we lost our assets, we lost all access to cash, and we were eventually on Australia's welfare system. Why I'm sharing this story with you is that the impact of this triage diagnosis, the lack of monitoring, the lack of listening, the potential overprescribed medication was catastrophic for my health, for myself, and for my family. And we need to realize that we have a responsibility as salespeople to correctly diagnose our buyers' conditions. Beck Holland from Flip the Script, she actually went out into the field and interviewed a number of GPs, a number of doctors. And what she wanted to know was how many or what percentage of patients that came in and self-diagnosed themselves were correct. And the doctors told Beck that 90% of patients that came into the doctor's surgeries were misdiagnosing. And so in the business world, not only do we have to be careful about the prescriptions we give our buyers, but we have to also be mindful that our buyers are self-diagnosing their own problems and what percentage of those diagnoses are incorrect and could be totally incorrect, totally incomplete, and totally catastrophic for those businesses as well. So when our buyers come to the table asking for what they believe, they think they need, then as sellers, if we don't do enough due diligence within that sales conversation by bringing critical thinking, by bringing creativity, and by bringing complex problem solving to the table, then we've got to be very, very careful too. So what are some of the reasons that sellers don't diagnose well enough? And so I gave this some thought, and I'm thinking, you know what, a number of sellers, they don't know how to help the buyer discern between what the buyer thinks they need and what the buyer wants. still, it doesn't matter how much, I guess, encouragement we give sellers, they are still seller focused. And so I'm a big proponent in the fact that the seller's journey and the buyer's journey, I could be wrong, but the buyer's journey is just kind of a rejigged seller's journey. And so we've got to be mindful that we understand how to actually go to the market to serve the buyer. Thirdly, I think that some salespeople believe that uncovering surface level inconveniences and surface level pain points, they think that they are enough on which to hang their hat or to deliver a proposal or to justify a decision without identifying the problem behind the problem or the story behind the story. And then, of course, there's sellers, those sellers really don't care. So to get to the root cause of a buyer problem means eliciting the buyer stories. And this is why I say story selling is all about root cause focus. We need to focus in on what the root cause is. And the only way that we can do that is to elicit the essential stories. And those essential stories are the buyer stories. And unfortunately, not enough of those stories are elicited. So if you want to continue to share ideas with me like this, please do so. I really want to help salespeople this year make things easy for you so that you can make the right connections, have the right conversations, and get the right conversions. So I'm going to share a couple of different platforms that we can do that together. You can jump into YouTube, go to the Story Seller channel, and I'm beginning to put some videos out there for you so that you can keep going back there and get different ideas. On LinkedIn, ring the bell next to my name so that you can get the latest posts and updates and subscribe to my newsletter on LinkedIn. And you can also go to shiftanddisrupt.com. It's the launching page for my new book, Shift and Disrupt. Stop selling widgets, start selling wisdom, and you'll be able to access some resources here. So here's what I want you to do after this video. I want you to start to think differently about how you can ask questions of your buyer in a very respectful, non-interrogative way so that you can begin to elicit their stories, okay, around what they believe they need, and think differently about how you can frame the guidance of what potentially they may need. So on that note, have an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.